My topic is the completion delusion. And basically, what I actually want to talk about is something that we all secretly know but don't always say out loud. So, let me start by sharing a learning experience that I'm sure many of you will relate to. So, basically, I once enrolled in an online learning program, and basically, the program promised me, three very important things. Firstly, it promised me advanced skills, practical insights, and career growth. So I was extremely thrilled. But on day one of enrollment, the instructor said, let's begin with the basics. 2 hours later, I was learning things I still already knew. And by day 3, I was fast forwarding videos, answering quizzes on mute, and wondering why am I even here. But you know what the funny part is? The platform marked me as highly engaged. But I wasn't engaged at all. I was just present. And my bosses also expected, a change in my performance simply because I had learned a course. But in reality, I had just completed it. So this assumption that completion equals capability is what I call the completion delusion. So let's talk about some facts, shall we? So, a survey conducted by PwC's global workforce suggests that 94% employees say learning drives retention. And many organizations believe in learning enough to spend billions every year on it. And yet, 70% learning is forgotten within days. So, learning is valuable, learning is funded, but learning is not translating into performance. That is exactly why very few organizations can clearly link learning programs to business outcomes. To further validate this, we conducted a survey ourselves with organizations spanning across various industries and realized that 65% of employees say we don't have time to learn. 45% don't see how learning connects to their careers. And only 25% actually get any kind of reinforcement from their managers. So, like most of us, out of frustration, employees started taking matters into their own hands, with over 80% of them moving to self-driven learning platforms. So, what did this basically result to? It actually resulted in 28% employee retention risk because of dissatisfaction and misalignment. That is when it occurred to me that this isn't a learning problem at all. It's actually a system problem. We are measuring only activity, but not learning. L&D dashboards track completion rates, training hours, scores, attendance, etc., but fail to truly account for what actually matters to business leaders, which is productivity, speed, proficiency, and definitely a confident and ready workforce. So this gap needs to be identified because this is exactly where the completion delusion quietly strikes. So let's talk about these gaps. There are 5 small ones, however, they have huge impact. Across organizations, the same gaps show up again and again, suggesting that learning stays theoretical instead of applied. It's generic instead of personalized. It clashes with how people actually pay attention today. It ends at completion with no reinforcement whatsoever. And lastly, that it's measured by activity and not outcomes. So basically, each of these gaps may seem harmless at first, but together they completely break capability. So we realized that the paradigm needs to shift because the traditional model treats learning like an event. Course, completion, certificate, end of work. But capability doesn't necessarily work like that. Real learning is continuous. First you learn, then practice, reinforce, apply, and then perform. So the focus needs to shift from delivering content efficiently to, let's say, actually enabling transformation. And obviously business leaders don't care about measuring any kind of learning activity. What they actually care about is whether their employees are actually able to learn and retain information. So, when learning enables capability, it shows up in productivity, better decision making, and execution. So, to bridge this gap between learning activity and business outcomes is precisely why we as an organization have developed Skillzen. So allow me to introduce our flagship product, Skillzen. Skillzen is a learning experience platform designed to transform how content is consumed, delivered, and created. It doesn't just map out learning activity, it gives you deep business insights regarding your employees' performance, retainment, and reinforcement power that actually will drive those business results. So let's talk about how Skillzen avoids the completion trap. So firstly, in Skillzen, learning is active, not passive. People engage through scenario-based simulations and not just consume content. Secondly, it's adaptive. The path changes based on role, proficiency, and performance. So not everyone follows the same journey. Thirdly, learning is reinforced over time. Because if you don't revisit it, you will forget it. As simple as that. And lastly, it's measured by context. So learning shows up in real work scenarios where role-specific application becomes easy. All in all, the idea is very straightforward, that our product Skillzen is built around capability and not just completion. So how did we design Skillzen? Basically, no fast forwarding, because actual learning requires real engagement. It acts like a learning companion, supporting people in the flow of work. And in Skillzen, learning happens through short, practical, and role-based formats. And we measure skill growth and business impact via gamification and ROI mapping. Also, because it's the age of AI, we have tried our best to use and incorporate and leverage the power of AI for our benefit by doing what exactly? By not just dumping more content or teaching you theory, but by actually helping you answer questions while the work is happening. So when someone is stuck, AI will provide context. When someone needs a quick, hey, how do I do this? AI will respond instantly. So instead of searching through courses or videos, AI will help people in the flow of work. And Skillzen's AI is trained and designed to help solve actual work problems instead of just answering quiz questions. So with Skillzen, we as an organization hope to truly make learning stick. Now finally, I'd like to end with this, that if learning doesn't transform people's performance at work, then true learning isn't happening at all. That's the difference Skillzen is built for. Because finishing a course is a mere milestone, building true capability is the destination.